And I'm going to do that every frickin' day that I'm here in this committee when you bring up these ridiculous, barbaric bills that target trans kids.
Bill.
Would the gentlelady yield?
No, I'm not finished yet.
I wanted to ask you if you know what female genital mutilation is.
I am not finished. First of all, we're not claiming kids are doing us harm. We are trying to protect them from harm. And protecting children is not inconsistent with our conservative philosophy. We are not mobilizing against our children. We are mobilizing to protect them. It was because of the issue of young girls, young women who were having, their parents were the ones who were taking them to have the female genital mutilation. So when you talk about this being a parental right to obtain medical intervention for their minor child, the very law, the very statute that we are amending specifically identifies and recognizes the fact that sometimes parents don't have the best interests of their children.
Can you listen to Jayapal? The fact that she holds elected office is wild. Honestly, give her a Hollywood script and a dramatic soundtrack because that was pure audition energy. Democrats screaming about barbaric bills, while completely ignoring that the bill literally amends a law banning female genital mutilation. You cannot make this up. The irony is so loud it needs its own microphone and a security detail. And then Harriet Hageman steps in, calm, composed, unbothered, and drops, "No, I'm not finished yet." That wasn't just a sentence. That was a shutdown. From that moment, the whole performance collapsed. This wasn't compassion versus cruelty. It was emotion versus facts, and facts don't need background music. If you're tired of outrage acting passing for policy, smash that like button, subscribe, and stay right here. Let's watch the full clip before I give you the full breakdown.
Republicans are bringing yet another despicable bill that attacks the transgender community, and the gentlelady who introduced the bill is calling practices barbaric, but she can't tell us even where the definition she introduced came from. What is barbaric is this legislation. What is barbaric is targeting trans kids in this country who are not doing you any harm. Show me a trans kid who's doing you harm. And then tell me how many of you are parents that would do anything that you could to protect your kids and to make sure that they didn't commit suicide, that they were actually able to engage in the world in a healthy way. Tell me what you wouldn't do for your children. Because when you introduce legislation like this, it is not only stupid legislation, it is cruel, it is mean, and it interferes with your own conservative principles. You really want to take away the ability to allow parents to make decisions about their own kids' medical situation with their doctor? That's what Republicans want to do? Now, I know we're all inconsistent in different ways, and there are people on that side who have been consistent on issues of debt and deficit. Both of us on either side of the aisle have taken up issues of privacy. This is a giant inconsistency in the Republican Party right now. You are supposed to be the party of limited government that doesn't get in the way of parents making decisions for their own kids. Remember parental rights? Remember individual rights? But that's not what you're doing, and don't just take it from me. In 2018, when the anti-trans political attacks were beginning, Barbara Comstock, who is a Virginia Republican who served in Congress, many of us knew her, said, quote, "It opens a Pandora's box when you don't allow the parents and the doctors to make this decision." Who are you to get in the way of a parent making a decision about their own kid's health? My amendment would allow medical professionals to continue delivering health care to young trans people when it is considered a best practice. It recognizes that this care is safe, widely accepted, appropriate, medically necessary, and most importantly, it allows transgender people to live safely and authentically as themselves. Any parent over there, do you want kids to commit suicide? Is that what you'd like? Do you want them to not get the counseling that they need? Because that's what gender-affirming care is. In very rare cases, there is surgery that is prescribed. But you guys make it sound like this is some giant, terrible thing that parents are doing for their kids. You're parents. Why are you getting in the way? Why are you letting government get in the way of parents making decisions about their own kids with their own doctors? It is absolutely outrageous, and I'm gonna do that every frickin' day that I'm here in this committee when you bring up these ridiculous, barbaric bills that target trans kids.
First of all, we're not claiming kids are doing us harm. We are trying to protect them from harm. And protecting children is not inconsistent with our conservative philosophy. We are not mobilizing against our children. We are mobilizing to protect them. We are not demonizing children. We are trying to protect them from people who seek to use medical intervention to erase the essence of their very being. I want to remind the committee that this bill, H.R. 3492, is actually an amendment to existing law, 18 U.S.C. Code Section 116, which was introduced by Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, and it was entitled Female Genital Mutilation. And the very purpose of it was to prohibit female genital mutilation. It was passed. It was a bipartisan bill that was passed. This is merely an amendment to that bill.
Would the gentlelady yield?
No, I'm not finished yet.
I wanted to ask you if you know what female genital mutilation is.
I am not finished. If you will remember at the time that this was brought forward in 2020 and even its predecessor in the 1990s, it was because of the issue of young girls, young women who were having, their parents were the ones who were taking them to have the female genital mutilation. So when you talk about this being a parental right to obtain medical intervention for their minor child, the very law, the very statute that we are amending specifically identifies and recognizes the fact that sometimes parents don't have the best interests of their children at heart, and that's why on a bipartisan basis in 2020 there was a law that was passed that made female genital mutilation illegal. So I want to make sure that people understand that that is the very purpose of the bill that we are considering as an amendment to an existing statute. I also want to point out that throughout history we have examples where the medical community has been so blatantly wrong in terms of the advice that they were giving. For example, in the 1930s, recommending that women smoke cigarettes, it will make them feel better while they're pregnant. We have the situation of the radium, recommending the use of radium, lobotomies from the 1930s through the 1950s. The gentleman who invented lobotomies actually received the Nobel Prize in medicine for that. We don't do lobotomies anymore. We recognize how barbaric that procedure is. Hormone replacement therapy without risk disclosures, forced coerced sterilization, we have a history of that. We just went through COVID-19, for goodness sakes. We had Anthony Fauci lying to us every which way from Tuesday about that masks are unnecessary and that we need to have masks and that you have to have the vaccine and the vaccine isn't going to cause any problems. And now we have all of the evidence demonstrating that the vaccines cause incredible medical problems for a certain subset of our population. Yet we were lied to over and over and over and over again just during COVID-19, and it was the medical field that did it. It's why there is such a distrust in the medical field right now. So when you talk about how there are these medical protocols and this is best practices, that's most likely based upon what is the Dutch protocol. The Dutch protocol that has been cited so many times by Democrats has been entirely discounted as being a situation where they actually cooked the books. You want to know how they cooked the books? According to a 2023 study, the premise of the Dutch study is flawed on account of 3 methodological biases that undermine the research. These include 1, dropping subjects from the study who experienced unsuccessful results. Number 2, altering the gender dysphoria scoring mechanism after the treatments were conducted in order to guarantee a significant post-surgical drop in gender dysphoria scores. And number 3, compromising findings of psychological psychological benefits of hormone therapy by conflating the results of several treatments and factors such as gender reassignment therapy and psychological maturation. The results of this Dutch study have never been replicated despite the fact that there have been many efforts to do so. So when you talk about best practices, when you talk about the parents being the ones who get to make this decision and then attack us and make it as though we don't care about children, that we don't care about their well-being, the very purpose of this bill is to protect children from the people who would harm them through this type of medical intervention. With that, I yield back.
All right. Now that you've seen it all, let's be honest about what just happened. Harriet Hageman absolutely dismantled that argument. Democrats tried to frame this as Republicans targeting trans kids. That's the emotional hook. That's the headline they want. But Hageman dragged the debate back to reality. This bill isn't some random culture war stunt. It amends an existing federal law banning female genital mutilation, a bipartisan law Democrats supported because, newsflash, parents do not always make perfect decisions. That's not an insult to parents. That's why we have laws in the first place. You cannot say, government should never interfere with parental decisions, when we already criminalize parents for allowing irreversible harm. That argument collapses instantly, and Hageman knew it. Then she did something even more dangerous for the left. She brought history into it. The medical establishment has been spectacularly wrong before. Lobotomies were once celebrated. Forced sterilizations were defended. Cigarettes were recommended to pregnant women. COVID guidance shifted every 5 minutes while Americans were told to just trust the science. So when Democrats chant best practices like it's a magic spell, Hageman reminds everyone that best practice today can become tomorrow's medical scandal. And the Dutch protocol? The Holy Grail study they cling to? She laid out exactly how it was flawed, dropping negative outcomes, changing scoring methods after treatment, blending unrelated psychological factors. That's not settled science. That's shaky ground dressed up as consensus. The real twist here is this: Republicans are being accused of cruelty for saying maybe, just maybe, we shouldn't allow irreversible medical procedures on minors based on contested research. That's not hate. That's caution. That's responsibility. That's conservatism. While the Democrat argument leaned entirely on emotional blackmail, do you want kids to commit suicide? Hageman stayed focused on law, precedent, and protecting children from permanent harm. One side argued with fear, the other argued with evidence. And when she said, "No, I'm not finished yet," it wasn't just a line, it was a signal. The days of Republicans sitting quietly while being called monsters are over. She finished, and she finished strong.